Hi, my name is Alyssa Gibbons and I is Anudda Bajan. I grew up in Bush Hall. That's where my grandma, my mom, my aunts, uncles, everyone was from. And I grew up in a house full of people. So maybe at any given point, 6 to 9 of us in, one of those homes that was like a 2-bedroom, but each bedroom was split in half with like a partition that didn't go all the way to the top. That's the kind of house that I grew up in. And it was tough for me because I was always a very quiet kid. And I guess one of the biggest things I remember about my childhood is just feeling almost isolated in a way and a little awkward to be around. I used to sit by myself a lot, and I would kind of like self-soothe and like tap my foot or just sit facing the wall, just like rocking and stuff like that. And there was always this question as to, is she responsive? Is she like on a spectrum? Is this normal? There was always that kind of question around me because I wasn't very talkative. I was super quiet. And I remember people would always say, oh, she looks like this family member, like this particular name over and over again. And I had never met the lady. And then when I finally found out who she was, she had a disability. She had Down syndrome as well. And I remember wondering, what is it about me that makes people constantly draw this comparison? And I didn't understand, right? And then in school people would call me like nicknames. I was bullied quite a lot. If I'm honest with myself and I sit down and think back now, I was bullied a lot in school. And one of the nicknames they had for me at school was Corky. And I don't know if you remember, there was this show on TV, I think it was called Seventh Heaven or something like that. And there was a kid in there as well who had Down syndrome, and his name was Corky. So they used to call me Corky. So kind of having that constantly being a topic of discussion just because you're kind of quiet, like that kind of stuff stays in the back of your mind. Like, am I different? Am I just quiet? Am I smart enough? Is there something different about me? And I don't think there really was anything particularly different. I was just an awkwardly quiet kid. And I think it made other people feel pretty uncomfortable around me because I would just sit and stare. Not at people, just at random stuff. I was like hyper focused on little things that didn't make sense. Like, you could sit me down with a piece of paper and I would obsess over how white it was, or one fleck of discoloration on it. And then if I draw on the paper and I make one mistake, I need a new paper. I don't do rubbing out, I don't do starting over. It had to be perfect. So I had these awkward quirks growing up. And I feel like because of that constant questioning of my personality, how I'm developing, it just kind of made me draw in a little bit more. And I kind of blocked out a lot of school. I hated school. I know everyone says, oh, school, the best years of my life. Hated it. Could not wait to leave. Primary school, I dealt a lot again with bullying. I just always remember feeling like no one wanted me around. Like, people would like slam glass doors on me and like break my fingers, and I just went through it, right? And I never really felt like I fit in anywhere, but I was always very smart. So I was always quiet but intelligent. And I think it took people a while to see my progress to then realize, okay, she's not quiet because she cannot speak, or there's developmental issues. Maybe that's just her personality. And throughout school, the constant comments I would get from teachers is, wish she would talk more. Sits at the back of the class, does not engage with people. Realize that she's actually very intelligent. Like, talking at me or about me, but no one's ever coming to you and saying, kid, you're really good at this. I think, if you apply yourself, you could do this or you could do that. No one really, I don't want to say comforts, because I don't think it's people's job to comfort you. But I never felt like I had kind of one person to tell me, you're okay. You're okay just the way you are. So dealing with a lot of the bullying and stuff, and I remember even one time no one liked me. And I wasn't a boisterous kid or super mischievous or anything. People just didn't like me because I guess I was doing very well, but still not interacting much with people. And one of the memories that stayed with me even till now from school is it became such a problem that the teacher felt like she had to intervene. And I don't know why she thought this was a good idea, but she called me to the front of the class and she was like, she knows there's some contention or whatever. We need to address this as a class. Everyone who does not like Alyssa, raise your hands. Everybody in the class raised their hands. Everybody. Even people that I thought I was cool with or, somewhat friendly with, everybody raised their hands. And I remember thinking okay, that's proof. There must be something off about me that, people just don't warm to. I'm not a super bubbly personality. I'm better now, but I was never that, person you could call on the phone and talk for hours. I was never that person that would, we would sit at lunch and, chat it up. I was just always by myself. And things like that just made me want to be by myself more. So that's kind of my memory of childhood. I think I've blocked out a lot of the discomfort, the awkwardness. But yeah, I just remember feeling real, just off. I don't really fit in anywhere. No one wants to take the time to get to know you because you're not super expressive. So I just remember feeling alone a lot. School is this is transformative years, right? This is where you meet all your friends, and I don't know, secondary school is a little better than primary school because now you're kind of coming into yourself a little bit more. You're being forced to interact with people a little bit more. Secondary school was the first time I looked somebody in their eyes. I was 14, the first time I genuinely looked somebody directly in their eyes. I remember it. I was standing on the school steps, somebody was talking to me and they said something and I was like, you talking about me? They said something complimentary. And I remember looking at them, just trying to double check they were talking to me, right? And yeah, I don't know, teen years were I wasn't popular, but I was good at different things, so people knew who I was, at school. So I would be getting good grades. So I got the top marks in my year at common entrance. So when you come into school, people almost, I guess, respect you, or they know who you are. So they kind of leave you alone. They don't bully you as much, right? Because, oh, she's a smart person. Then I was a national athlete. I was swimming for Barbados. So people knew of me, but I wasn't super popular or anything. Nobody was picking on me like they might have done in primary school. I was pretty much just coasting along, just happy to be here. Just let me show up, go back home, do what I gotta do. Yeah, I remember school was, I slept a lot. Let's put it that way. I was training. Like I said, I was a national athlete. I was representing Barbados in swimming. And I would train before school and after school. So you wake up 4 a.m., you go to the pool, you swim for like hours. The coach is the one that drops you to school, gives you breakfast. Like you be driving to school and he would be like, eat this, loaf of bread, just eat, you know. And I would get to school and be exhausted. So I honestly don't know how I got through school, because I slept through a lot of it. Like, see those first 3 periods before lunch? Snoring. Front of the class, especially geography. I was just asleep. Like, when you come to school to do like, you have to do like those SBA exams, like midway through, the ones that don't count, sleeping. I would walk into like the physics lab and they would like try to give me, these exams, and I'd be like, I'm so sorry, but I just need to sleep. So teen years are interesting. I feel like I just got through them. Like how a lot of people feel so like nostalgic about school and best years of my life. I don't necessarily feel that. I don't necessarily feel that way about school. I kind of just wanted to get out of there as quickly as I could. So yeah, I kind of just got through it. Yeah. My biggest challenge, I think, has been, I guess, mental health in general. When I left Barbados, I was 18, and I'd gone on a scholarship, and I said I want to go as far away as possible. I just want to go somewhere. I just want to go. Just put me on a plane. I gone. And I don't think I was emotionally ready for that. I spent all this time by myself, used to being by myself, but I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough, I think, to handle being in a different country on my own. And there were some things that, happened in my childhood that I didn't really know were a problem, and I didn't, I guess, deal with them, and university was hard for me. Being in a different place was hard for me. I don't think people tell you the financial decisions you're making when you like taking on all of this, that just to follow your dreams, to follow the career that you want to do. I was so broke. And I was broken. I flatlined. Like I was spiraling downwards with my mental health, and I didn't know it because I was so used to feeling isolated that I didn't know that what I was doing or how I was living was not, healthy. And I had a hard time at university. It wasn't like a lack of competence or anything like that. It was just as a person, my mental health was just, suffering. And it got to a point where the people around me started to get concerned, strangers, And I remember in my second year, I was living with some other people in a flat. So we had this house together, and we were all kind of working as like mentors and like teaching assistants. So we all had this house, like working together. And I thought I was good. No one else thought I was good. I was struggling. I was not eating. I was going to class, but I was just not functioning healthily. And it got to a point where they would like start reporting me as like a mental health risk. And I was like, y'all, I'm good. Used to this kind of feeling like I'll figure it out, I'm gonna power through. I still, doing what I need to do, submitting my assignments. But I guess my behavior was kind of worrying to them. I wasn't taking like very good care of myself. I I guess the walls were really thin. I was crying a lot. I was struggling. That I didn't know I was struggling because it felt so normal. And there was this girl in the room next to me, and I remember she just would not leave me alone. Like, when I tell you, this girl would check on me all the time and, quiet me. It was annoying, you know. But she was genuinely worried about me. And I guess she would see how I would, like, just, I don't want to say sneak in, sneak out. Like, I was very low key. I was just going through the motions. And it got to a point where I realized she was just always there. Like, she would knock on my door on mornings. She would like ask me what I ate today. Oh, what medications are you taking? She was just in my business all the time. And she reported me several times. And then one time in particular, she reported me and said she's afraid that I, might hurt myself, or if I go back home, I will not come back. If I go back home to Barbados, I will not come back. And it got to a point where she would check on me every morning and night, right? And if I didn't get up to go to classes, she would like be like knocking on my door, like, hey Alyssa, haven't seen you in a while, how are you? Like, just constantly checking on me. I didn't know what she was doing at the time, until one morning she knocks on my door and I didn't answer. I don't know how this girl got in my room, but when she came into my room, I wasn't responsive. And I didn't realize she was checking on me because I was a danger to myself. So she like, ooh, that's hard to talk about. In a nutshell, she pretty much saved my life. And she got me the help I needed. I was like under observation and all that stuff. And they were all super kind people. Like, they would tell you, what you need to do. They like will prescribe you certain medication or whatever. And it was just nothing that I really experienced before. I didn't have a concept of what mental health is. I was just fighting. Like, I was just like, oh, maybe I just awkward or something. Like, I'm not processing emotions the way I should, but that's on me, that's no one else's problem. It's just me. I just get up, keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'll figure it out. But I wasn't figuring it out. So I ended up having to like take a pause during my degree or whatever. I remember feeling like terrified. I was worried about am I going to lose my scholarship? I was worried about, gosh, if I don't get a degree, what am I going to do? And I was studying something super, it was a very tough course. I was doing structural engineering and architecture at the same time. So I was doing a master's and a bachelor's at the same time, and it was intense. Like, anybody that knows like those professions knows the kind of almost like, I don't want to say manic, but it's like intense study, especially the design component, the architectural stuff. It's like, people work for like 7 days in a row. You don't sleep. You like sleep under the table. They got showers in the studio. You just keep grinding. That combination for me and the stuff that I was already dealing with, it wasn't something that I could have handled healthily at the time. So they said to me, like, your grades are ridiculous in a good way. Like, you're coming in here, you're from a totally different country, you're getting test scores that we haven't seen before. we're not going to just give up on you. So take the year, take a pause, and just feel better. And this spot is here for you. So I took the year. I stayed there. Couldn't really afford to come back home. But I stayed there, and I went to therapy. I went to, the cognitive behavioral stuff. The only thing I didn't do was take the medication that they prescribed. I wasn't 100% sold on that. And I think that's probably why I ended up having to take the year, because they really wanted to, make sure that I was okay. So got through that, and then it was still hard, but I finished. I did what I had to do. And I didn't know how amazing of an accomplishment that was, because I just felt like you have to do it, like I think everybody in Barbados is like, I don't want to say obsessed, but education is like a big deal, right? So you come up, always being top of your class, you get top grades at 11 plus, you get a scholarship. So you mean you can't even finish a degree? Like, that was just not an option for me. So I couldn't understand why I'm smart enough, but I just can't, It's not a question of intelligence. It's a question of all the other stuff that I never really stopped and tried to figure out, So I think going through that kind of showed me that I am not a weak person, and I'm actually not a mentally weak person either, because I will figure it out, right? I'm the kind of person that I don't understand the obstacles, and I don't see the obstacles that should be considered as obstacles. There are things that I just almost see and don't see, and I'm going for the end goal, right? So there's a blessing and a curse, because then sometimes I don't know if I'm doing too much. But on the flip side, if there's something that I know is for me or that I want to do, there's literally nothing that is going to stop me from continuing to try to get there. Yeah. When I came back home looking for work, you can't find nothing. It's like, chavo, I should have stayed where I was. But you know how the scholarship says you need to come back home and work and give back, and then you come back and there's not that much on offer to do. So I spent a lot of time, I think it was maybe a good 7 months of not like anything within the field of architecture or engineering that I wanted to do. And I would just focus on, getting healthy, because I still had some hiccups after university, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to just take this time and, work on me, be healthy, do what I need to do for myself. Because I would always tell myself, when you get a foot in the door, it's going to be like bear running. There ain't going to be time to slow down, so just enjoy it, right? But that didn't last long, because I was like, I gotta do something. So I can do whatever they want get me to do, I gonna do. So I ended up working as a QS, like a junior QS at first. Then, you might see like a posting for like an architectural assistant or whatever. And I would like gradually just get experience wherever I could, in whatever way I could, as long as it was to do with architecture or engineering, I would just do it. And eventually I ended up at a company for, I want to say, about almost 5 years. And when I was there, that's when I really kind of got thrown into the deep end. You don't have that much built experience, as in built projects that actually been constructed. There's a lot of like conceptual stuff through university, or maybe if you interning at a structural engineer, they might give you like a small calculation to do, enough to challenge you, but not enough that if you mess it up, you cost them money or something. But this company was kind of like the first place where I guess by necessity, because of the fact that it wasn't a regionally or locally owned company, kind of had to take advantage of the expertise that you do have. So when I tell you I went everywhere, you know, you would get a phone call and a client in, say, Dominica or St. Kitts need somebody, you would just get put on a plane like the next day and you're gone, right? It helped that I didn't have kids, you know, so it was easy to just pick up at a moment's notice and leave. But I ended up for about 2 years actually working in St. Kitts. And you know, you work from like 7 to 7 every day. They give you a little car. You drive around pretty much from home to site, back home. You know, the project is like, you're talking like a multi-million-dollar project, 2 years behind schedule, and you get sent there to try to fix it, right? So you're on site with people from Haiti, Dominican Republic, Colombia, you know, European workers as well. And it's just this hodgepodge of design and, you know, built environment professionals just trying to finish this project. And that was an interesting experience. I learned so much. I think my educational background was multidisciplinary, and then my work experience has been so varied that I would not trade that combination for anything, because I think it's truly what sets me apart as a designer. I can sit down in the office and do drawings, but I could be right on site, get cussed at by a contractor and be totally unfazed. Like, we gonna just cuss each other at this point because we gotta get this done the right way. So we gonna do whatever we gotta do to get it done, right? So that kind of attitude is just so normal for me now, to just be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You kind of end up being like the go-to person almost for if something is a little too stressful or too difficult. People be like calling, all right, just let Alyssa deal with that. And it's good and bad, I mean, but you learn so much through it, right? And, you know, being there, I had an amazing opportunity to just learn. I learned as much as I could. You know, had a bit of fun in between. You know, might have swam from Nevis across the channel to St. Kitts. You know, might have swum with sharks, literally. But yeah, I think working there was kind of a eye-opening experience for me too, because, you know, obviously as a young professional, you doubt yourself. You don't know everything. Still don't know everything, obviously, but you're there to learn. You're there to grow. And yeah, like I said, it's something that I wouldn't exchange for anything. I think it helped to grow me as a person. The pressure was intense. You know, we're talking, you make a millimeter decision that's incorrect and it could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to the client to fix. You know, so that kind of pressure at that age, it kind of gave me a poker face almost, like, you know, the world could be coming to an end and I would just be there like calm, and people would kind of lean on me as they want to come up with a solution. And I didn't know that was a strength. I didn't know I had a poker face. You know, I didn't know that people can't tell when something's stressing me, or, you know, all that time I spent just, you know, being quiet and self-soothing has been such an amazing kind of advantage in my career. And it's hilarious because, you know, you work in certain places and people don't value you sometimes, especially, sad to say, a lot of companies might come here and they're not locally based. For example, is a huge expat community that, you know, sometimes come to the Caribbean seeking to develop. And the kind of treatment that you get sometimes is not always, nice. You might be looked down upon because, you're from this small island, what do you really know? And on the back end of that, they're contracting you out for, 8 to 10,000 US dollars a month and paying you nothing near that. So what do you do when you find out how much you're actually worth and how much you're actually getting paid? When you know that you got help mom with the mortgage, or you got, student loans to pay back that you nearly, dead over. You either stay and complain or you back yourself. So I just are a person that's back myself. So I say, you know what? You think I'm doing a good job. All the clients, all the money that I'm making for you is proof that I'm doing a great job. So why I can't do a great job for myself? I will be working till like 3 a.m. on mornings. Imagine you working and you can hear the cocks crowing and the sun coming up. And you just decide, let me just go home, take a shower, change and come back. And that's your working life, right? And you're working hard, it's high pressure, multi-million-dollar projects, and you're responsible for the majority of these things, right? And I got to a point where I was working myself into the grave, literally. I left the office early in the morning. The sun was coming up. So I drive in and I come back, I get home real tired, just exhausted. And this was like maybe like day 6, 7 in a row. Just these late nights, early mornings. And driving back to the office, I remember I was coming down Iceland's Hill and I was so sleepy. And just as I come off the bottom of the hill, I just black out. And I ran in the back of somebody. And I would never forget, like, waking up, like, being jolted awake from the impact. And that feeling of, oh, shoot, are you okay? This person okay? And how bad this is, like, like when you just, like when you wake up, you're in kind of discombobulated. Like the adrenaline that hit, I was like, Lord, just let everybody be okay. And I get out the car, and it was an older man driving, and I remember the way he looked at me. He looked at me like I wasn't okay. And I remember thinking, I bleed. Like, why are you looking at me like this? And first thing he asked me, he was like, you okay? I said, I good. You okay? He was like, yeah. He was like, you don't look, you sure you good? He was like, you was drinking? I said, no. I just really tired. I am exhausted, sir. And he had like one of them L200 trucks and a cage on the front and the back. So he was good. My car was mashed up. And I remember he was like, I don't think you okay to drive, He was like, just pull in the gas station and sleep. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I have to get to work. And you know what I do? I drive to work. And when I got there, the HR lady, she looked at me. She was like, there's no damn way I'm letting you in this office. She was like, nope, ain't happening. And it took stuff like that to kind of push me to realize you can't always just work for somebody, Alyssa, because you got a crazy work ethic. I don't know how many times you need to prove it to yourself, but hard work is not a problem for you. Talent or skill or technical know-how is not a problem for you. Your problem right now is you. You holding yourself back. You saying that I am far enough along in my career to do this. You saying that I'm not sure how. Yet you in these spaces with people that don't know anything, right? but they might have maybe money or connections, right? And they're out here playing the trade, trying a thing. And you're going to tell me that after everything you've gone through, you can't stand up and say, I can give this a shot. So I said, nah, I go on. So I will never forget, I resigned from that job, boy, probably kind of unprofessionally too. I don't even think I write a letter. I think I just get frustrated and send an email with a meme, to be honest. Oh my gosh, you know the meme with the little girl going down the slide waving goodbye? That was my resignation letter. I kid you not. I kid you not. That was my goodbye. And I would love to tell you that, oh, it was unprofessional and, but I think I needed to do it. So I don't regret it. Who vex at this point. But yeah, but I would never forget the one thing that was said to me when I was leaving. And I remember thinking, why you never told me this before? He said to me, I've never met anybody like you. Like, you have this switch. Like, it could be 5 minutes before the client comes in and everybody panicking. We know we're near done. But when you walk into that room to receive and present, he was like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you turn from the absolute chaos that's going on to this calm delivery, but I have never seen anything like it. So that's the poker face. When you got like something to do and you just channel whatever you're feeling and transmute that energy and be like, all right, guys, I got this, Yeah, poker face. I guess something that I am most proud of recently, other than, just continuing to show up and, try, follow my dreams at all costs, was the TED experience. My TED Talk came out in January of this year, but the whole journey started at the end of 2021. So I don't know if you know what TED is, but originally it was kind of this coming together of great minds. People leading the way in their fields, innovation, technology, engineering, and design. That's what TED stands for. And when I was in university, actually, TED Talks were a comfort. Because, if I was feeling a little off, or I just needed some inspiration or just background noise to get me through a tough situation, I will watch these people get on stage and talk about anything. But it was always this impassioned, curious, explorative nature in their work, and that's something I so identified with. They could be talking about closed loop systems by taking, silk from worms or spider webs and turning it into like some kind of fabric or plastic, and how that could save the world. And it was just always this huge inspiration, to me. When I was trying to find a job, couldn't find one, I would like Google a TED Talk, how to feel better about yourself while trying to find a job, like anything, like how people type into Google, I would type in that and then add TED at the end and just watch these people speak to me about, all these different problems. So I knew of TED. And towards the end of 2021, there was this kind of open call going around from TED for entries for something they call an idea search. And traditionally, TED is an invite-only kind of opportunity, right? There's TED and then there's TEDx. TEDx are like smaller, almost franchised, locally organized conferences where you might pull the who's who of the area, in to have like a general talk. But TED, the main conference, is invite only. You need to be like a donor of sorts, like give, substantial amounts of money, or be like Elon Musk, for example, to be invited. So invite only. And I remember looking at this flyer that, I would see it pop up on social media, or every once in a while somebody might send it to me and say, oh, I saw this and thought of you. And I was like, come on, it's TED, right? And they specifically sent out another one looking for someone from the Latin American region. They always kind of lump the Caribbean into Latam or North America, or call it the Americas. And I remember thinking, would I be even eligible for this? Like, what does a TED speaker need to be? I remember reading the eligibility, and there wasn't anything about knowledge or, education. You just had to have an idea worth spreading. And once you're from one of these countries, we want you to submit like this 2-minute video. And then, you may have a chance to contribute at a TED conference. And I saw this thing going around circulating. Every once in a while it'll pop up again. And I thought nothing of it. Like, I was thinking maybe in like 20 years, 30 years, I'll be progressed enough in my career to like be even considered to do something like that. But knowing me, I was like, let me just try, like experiment or whatever. And I was like, okay, I wonder if I could pretend to put together a submission so that at least I know what the process is like. So I was like, okay, I'll go through the steps that they tell you to do just to, see what the process is. And I decided the day of the deadline to submit a video. So you comb your hair and you put on earrings or something. It's like, okay, I'm going to shoot this little video on my phone, 2 minutes, just talking about myself and what I do. And I'm not going to do anything with the video. So like, I set it up in my bedroom or whatever, shoot the video, look at it, and stoops. I was like, you really feel that you could send a video to somebody? And then there's always that part in my head that's be like, yeah, why not? But the quality of the video was real bad. So I talked myself out of it, right? So this was a Friday. And then the next day I woke up and I googled like all the other entrants, and everybody had like these super well edited professional videos, and I was like, oh, that's how you're supposed to do it. So as I'm googling, looking at people, and being like, I'm glad I didn't do this, because I look horrible compared to how professional everybody is, like proper studio, proper editing. And then this notification pop up that they extended deadline to Monday. So that little voice in my head again is like, all right, well, now you know what it takes. It needs to be more professional. So what if you just hired somebody to, shoot it for you rather than trying to shoot it on your crappy phone? So I called somebody and I was like, you'll be able to do this today? Is just to, test it out or whatever. And right there, so in my living room, they came and they set up. And as I was talking to them about what it was, the lady was like, so you're going to upload it, right? And I was like, nah. She was like, let me ask you this again. So we're going to upload this, right? And I was like, sure. So uploaded the video, and months later, I got this email, congratulations, out of thousands of entrants, you're in like the top 1%. And I was like, okay, cool. I never expected this to go anywhere, right? And I would constantly get these emails, he like updated you of the process, like fully expecting one to come and say, you're not quite there yet, but good luck in the future. And it never came. The last email I got from them was inviting me to the next step of interviews. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you sure you want me come to this interview? So who am I going to be like interviewing with? Like these amazing scientists and like these super smart people that probably spend like 10 hours every day in a lab somewhere, I don't know, solving the toughest problems in the world. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna show up to this interview. So the interview was an online streamed event, and like all the TED community, all the members in the world, like talking like millions of people were invited to watch this. And it was like a quick fire interview, like very tough, hardest interview I've ever done in my life. And people then voted on the spot as to who they thought had the best idea, who they enjoyed listening to the most, who moved them the most. And at the end of this process, they chose me out of all of these people. And I couldn't believe it, right? I mean, yes, I'm proud of the work that I do and stuff like that, but I didn't think I was established enough, or, like I said, far along enough in my career, almost like, just a little girl from Bashal, like, you want me to come and talk. And then began like this process of months of writing, months of curating, months of designing, months of rewriting script. And it was just a beautiful experience off of the back of me just trying a thing, right? And throughout that entire experience, I've learned that I'm a good writer. And it's not me just thinking that, is working with their team and them saying like, no, this is going to be powerful, this is going to be great. And I wrote my last, I guess, edition of my scripts like the day before I got on the plane to go there. And TED, you're supposed to speak for about 8 minutes. So they have this huge analytics team that kind of checks all the clicks and likes and views, and they kind of tell you, okay, 8 minutes is like the best time frame, because after 8 minutes people lose interest. So they're very like analytical about what makes a good talk, what people are going to respond to, different stuff like that. So when I recited my last edition of the script, there was something that I wanted to add in. I kind of had a rough idea of who was going to be there. I knew Elon Musk was going to be there, Al Gore was going to be there, the CEO of Instagram was going to be there. Very powerful people with money. I knew they were going to be talking about space exploration and stuff like that. And there was something towards the end of my speech that I wanted to put in. And every other time I practice with the people listening, I would be maybe like 8.5 minutes or 9 minutes, and they would always make me rewrite it until it was 8 exactly. When I read it this last time, it was 13 minutes. And when they told me the time, I was like, sorry guys, I got a little carried away, but there was something on my heart I wanted to put in. I will go back through and, try to strip it down. But everybody was crying. And I was like, because you're reading, you kind of just saying the words, you're not looking at the small faces on the Zoom screen. And when I said that, everybody was crying. And they pair you with like a ambassador. And she said to me, Alyssa Amor, touch nothing. Don't change it. Don't tweak it. She was like, I will stand at the side of the stage and I will fight for your time. Don't touch anything. Take nothing out of it. So I was like, all right, I guess that's the script. So I got on the plane, they take care of you. So I sat next to all these characters, and this lady's like, what are you doing? Because I was, trying to learn it, and I was like explaining to her, I'm going to give a TED talk, and she was like, what? Who are you? I was like, trust me, I'm just a little girl. Don't worry. So I was like practicing with her and learning it. But I learned that whole thing on the plane. And they don't let you read off of teleprompters or anything, because they said they want it to feel like a genuine conversation, right? So I had to learn 13 minutes of that talk, you know, and then present it in a room full of, you know, people that I read about. The person that spoke before me, Thomas Heatherwick, is someone that I wrote essays about in school. You know what I mean? So just to be there, nervous, you know, you're dealing with like the imposter syndrome as well. But everyone around you is telling you, no, you need to be on that stage. You know, this story needs to be told. We want to hear this. And I remember I took a little Bajan flag and I wrap it up and I put it on the table at the back where they keep like the glass of water. I had a little crystal, and I was scared as hell. When I tell you, I was nervous, and I think if you watch it, you can tell that I was nervous, but I feel like it was just so honest that it didn't matter. And when I was speaking, the entire room was so quiet. You know, I attended, you know, all of the sessions, and the vibe in the room was different when I was speaking.
So rather than trying to create some kind of impenetrable force field against the wind, we had to get creative and figure out how to work with the wind instead of against it. And when the wind is blowing at incredible force against a home that simply does not have the adequate means to brace itself, options are limited. Gets kind of simple. Like my mother used to tell me, you let the wind come through. Now, the trick to doing this lies unexpectedly in the arrangement of the timber facade, with windows such as these, called jalousie windows. And a quick side note, jalousie actually comes from the French word jalousie, meaning jealousy. So originally, these angled horizontal slats called louvers were meant to keep jealous, peering eyes from seeing into your home. But architecturally, what they did was allow wind to filter through while still keeping rain out. So these intentionally aligned apertures would allow you to open all the slats on the windows and doors to literally let the hurricane pass through, channeling that wind through the building's interior instead of building up destructive pressure on the facade. The result was that the weather, as I might say if I was at home, I might let down your house, but you ain't gonna mash it up.
They build the stage in such a way that you're kind of out there and people are right at your feet. You can see people, the lights are designed in a way that they're not blinding you. You're literally talking face to face with people. And I could see people crying, you know. I could see the emotions on people's face. And I would never forget that experience because it just felt so full circle to have watched these kinds of videos as inspiration and then be there giving a talk and people being inspired by you. Right? So many people came up to me after and would be like, I remember, you know, I used to hide in the closet because I didn't know what to expect. Or, you know, I remember, you know, being afraid of hurricanes. I kid you not, because the talk was about climate resilient design, and I spoke a little bit about hurricanes. I kid you not, when I was young, my definition of success was being rich enough to afford a plane ticket that I could fly to safety when a hurricane was coming. That was my definition of success. Because, like I said in the talk, you remember like taping up the windows, boarding up the house, you know, putting out buckets because you know the rain will come through the roof. That I think there's a shared experience that all of us have that we don't really talk about. But there's this like vulnerability that we live through as like island people, right? That is such a part of us that we don't really talk about it. But we like, as designers, I feel like it's our responsibility to figure out some of these issues. Like, it's great to go to space, but you telling me that we could figure out how to live on Mars, but we can't figure out how to live safely in paradise, you know? So those kind of questions are the ones that drive me, not just professionally, but just my ethos in general. I dream big. I spend a lot of time just thinking, dreaming, you know, trying to figure out what can I do? Not what can't I do or what the limitations are, but I ask myself what if a lot. Like, what if I could build $1 billion company out of my mom's basement? You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that keep me up and keep me going. Just knowing how far I've come, the personal challenges I face, the kind of limitations that I used to put on myself, you know, always feeling inadequate, even though there's proof that you're doing so well. That I just don't want to live my life like that anymore. And I'm definitely not going to be the one to put limits on myself. And I'll tell people you could try, you could try, but just know one thing about me is I'm gonna always go for it, always. And I'm not even gonna tell you get out of the way, because I gonna make my own way, you know. So I think, yeah, in a nutshell, I am just a dreamer. I am a dreamer, like obsessed with trying to execute on that dream, you know. Yeah. My name is Alyssa Gibbons. I am a dreamer, and I am just another Bajan.